Okay, so next topic is SVG. Okay, so we are going to learn what is and why you want to use SVG, and we are going to see what graphics elements of SVG you can use, and we can see how you can do transformation. Okay, so we have learned how you can do transformation using Canvas. Here we are going to see how we can do transformation using SVG. We'll talk about the concept of grouping, reusing, and you can also do gradients and opacity in SVG as well. You have filters, and you have clips and patterns, and also placing in a web page. And now at the end we are going to compare SVG versus Canvas. Basically when to use SVG and when to use Canvas, and when you want to use both. Okay, because in real life it's quite common that you are going to use both, because each technology has its own strengths and weaknesses, so you might in fact combine the two to take advantage of only strengths of each technologies. And then we are going to see what tools you can use to create SVG, the graphics, and we are going to see some image libraries. What is and why SVG? So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics, and it is an XML language to mark up graphics. So this is the big difference from Canvas. Canvas, you have a canvas element, and then you are going to use a JavaScript code to draw things, right? In SVG, you are going to draw things using XML. Okay. So like all XML is written in text, and the text could be read by the machines but also by humans. Okay. You can also use JavaScript code to manipulate objects and DOM elements. So because it's XML, you can make a reference to the SVG elements. They are genuine DOM elements. Okay, so you can actually use whatever JavaScript code against those DOM elements. Okay. In fact, this is in fact one of the big difference from Canvas, as we are going to see later on. So why SVG? SVG files are generally much smaller than Canvas-based Canvas-based graphics, because in Canvas things are drawn using bitmaps. Okay. So in a SVG, it's an XML file. So XML file is in general much smaller than bitmaps. So if you're getting these files from the network, meaning from the server, it could reduce the download times. So SVG XML file gets interpreted or computed at the browser. So browser will read the XML file, SVG XML file, and then it will draw graphics. Okay. So because things are drawn at the browser, you don't have to download anything from the server, so it could reduce the server load and also network response time, generally associated with the web imagery. So when a picture or graphics need to be downloaded, if the performance and the bandwidth usage is important, then you might consider SVG. Okay. So basically you can think of a small formulaic description. That's basically SVG XML file is sent from the server to the client, in this case a browser, and browser, assuming is SVG enabled, meaning it's HTML5 enabled, it will reconstruct the imagery based on that XML, the XML description of SVG file. Okay. Alright, so end user can interact and change the graphics without need to complex and costly client-server communication. So again, without actually going the server, without actually having the server to generate the graphics, everything is going to be done on the client side. Okay. The graphics can be scaled to fit different display devices without the pixelation associated with enlarging bitmaps. Okay. What it means is that graphics quality remains the same regardless of the resolution. What it means is this, regardless of the resolution, the graphics will be generated by the browser. So the resolution, the quality of the graphics remain the same regardless of the resolution. On the other hand, the bitmaps, when you increase the resolution, the quality of graphics deteriorate, and that's called the pixelation. Okay, so we're gonna actually try this as one of our hands-on lab exercise, and you are going to see the difference between the two. Okay, so let's move on to SVG graphic elements. So we're going to actually learn XML elements in SVG language. So these are set of SVG graphic element: path, text, rectangle, circle, ellipse, line, polyline, polygon, and image. So unlike in Canvas, where only primitive type is the only primitive type that is supported natively is rectangle, in SVG the bunch of graphics elements are supported natively. So on the right side of this slide you see SVG element, and inside SVG element you can draw a circle by using circle element. Okay, and then you provide the center of the circle, center location of the circle, using CX and CY attributes. And then all is radius, and the fill, you are going to fill the circle with in this case red color. So fill is set with the color. So basic shape examples: so rectangle, line, circle, and ellipse, image. So pretty straightforward. You can also use text element. So here I'm starting to draw text at the location starting from 0, x, and y is 100. Okay, and font size and fill red. Okay. Path, you can draw things as well using path element. So here I'm drawing the black path. And now this is this is the things that you are going to draw. So M stands for move the pen to coordinate XY. So here I'm going to move my pen to 100 and 100 pixel location. So here I'm moving my pen here. L means draw linearly to coordinate XY. So here if I say L 200 200, so this is basically drawing this line. So I move my pen to 100 to 100, and then I draw a line, that means this L, draw a line to this location. Okay. Q means quadratically to coordinate X and Y, and C is cubical. Okay, and the A is athletic arc. Okay. So this is another example of path. So in this case, we start from 150 location right here, and then we draw a line to 250, 200 and 150 here, and then we are drawing back to 100 and 100. So this is, we are basically we draw two lines. Okay, and fill none. So I'm not gonna fill anything here, and stroke is black. Okay, this one we are creating the closed path. So here starting from 50 100 and 150 200, and then 50 50 150. Okay, and as a default it will be filled with black. Okay, so let's take a look at the exercise 1. So here we are going to draw rectangles, lines, circles, ellipse, images, text, pass, and pass with fill rule to set to default, or the fill rule set to even odd. Okay, so here basically drawing a bunch of rectangles. Okay, so you can take a look at the this code. This one we have draw 1 to 7 rectangles. Okay, pretty straightforward. And this is a line. And basically this is a line, so we are drawing a bunch of lines. Okay, and circles, and the ellipses, and images, And yeah, so images and text. Yeah, so let's run this text here and I'll explain. Okay, so this is a text. So here we are drawing two text, and one is actually without any line guiding it. So here this text is written along the path. Okay, so the first one is this text, text X and Y, font size 40, and fill red, and JPassion. Yeah, that is actually this one, JPassion.com. Now, if you want to draw a text on a path, then you are going to use text path. So this text path is this guy. So first you have to set the path first of all. So here I'm using path element to set the path. So starting from 2020, and then circle is cubicle, 40, 40, 80, 40, and 120. Okay, and then I'm using text path, and here I specify what is a path that I'm going to draw my text. So here you're going to reference to your path. So this path has ID set with my path, and here you are actually using that path as a reference, and that in this case text will be drawn along that path. Okay, so that is text path. This is path. That is something that we have seen in the slide. Okay, and this is the fill rule set to default. So in this case, default is actually filling with black, and and this one is even odd. So here, if you are changing the fill rule set, then the attached area, whatever area that are attached, will be changing. One is filled and the other one is not filled, and things like that. Okay. All right. So that is basic SVG graphics element. So let's move on to the next. Transformation. So as in Canvas, you can perform transformation. Again, you're using XML element to achieve this. Okay, so this is an example of translate. So we have created this image. So this is the original image. Okay, so we have SVG element inside, and we have eclipse, this yellow eclipse. Okay, so center is 120 and 160, and radius is 105, and so this is the eclipse. So it's basically X and Y, 105. So this is the radius of the smaller, and this is the 150, and then we want to fill with yellow. Okay, so that eclipse is representing this yellow eclipse, and then we have set the path. So here we are using, so this data, we are starting from 150 here, and then we draw a lot of cubicles. Okay, so these lines, each of these lines are represented by these QCs. Okay, so understanding this code, this particular data is not really important. Okay, so now for that path, we are going to transform the translation. Okay, so meaning we are going to actually perform translate transformation. So in this case, we want to move this guy, which is path. This whole thing is represented with path, right? Okay, we want to move this guy to here. Okay, so that end result is going to be like this. So here we want to move this path. Okay, 100 minus and 100 minus. So it actually moves on. This one goes over here. So it end result is going to be like this. Rotate is here. In addition to translate, we want also perform rotate. So here, this is the first value is angle to rotate, and the second, the two values is the XY of rotation center. So here we are rotating right here. Okay. And scale. So here we want to scale. So here we are basically scaling down this guy. Okay, scaling to x105. We are moving to this 1.5 times, and then in terms of y scaling, we are actually I'm kind of, that's interesting. Y is actually getting, I said 0.8, so I'm not sure why it's actually getting bigger. Okay, so we can kind of play around. Okay. All right, so exercise 2 is a transformation. So this is the transformation. So before transformation, this is what we are going to start with. So basically, if I run this one, this is the picture that gets drawn. Okay, and then translate. So here we are going to translate. So this image is moved 100 up and 100 left. So now it fits inside the ellipse. That's good. So so this is the one. And rotate. So here we are going to rotate. So rotation is, center point is right here. Okay, because you specify the center point. So try to change the center point and see how rotation works. Okay, and the scale. This one is, yeah, okay. Looks like yes, this, okay. So let's see. Oops. Let me just write it down so that I can fix this one. Link is not working. Okay, so let me fix it on. So I'm gonna just go over here, 2-point scale. So this is what we want. So this is what gets drawn. Now I'm a little bit confused why in this case scale is I'm going to just change 1. Oh, so 1. Okay, and see what happens. Okay, so the scale is, so now if I change it to 0.8, which was original value, then what you get back is this. Yeah, so it certainly shrink from this point. Okay, so now if I say, let's say 1.5, then yeah, it goes this way. Okay, yeah, so it's actually starting from here and then goes over there. Okay, so that is the scaling. Let's move on to the grouping and reusing. So grouping tag is G. So it's a tag that merely serves to put elements together so that they might share the common set of transformation or other attributes. So let's see an example of this. So in this case, we grouped 4 elements: rectangle, rectangle, ellipse, and rectangle. And we want to perform same transformation on these 4 elements as a group. Okay, so that's the reason we want to set as a group, and then we can perform transformation. So in this case, what we want to do is I want to perform translate and rotate transformation on these 4 elements as a group. Okay, so here this is the end result. Grouping with attribute inheritance. So attribute could be inherited. So here we have grouped with fill is black. Okay, so this fill black will be inherited by every element. In this case, it will be inherited by 4 the members of this group. Okay, so you can say fill inherit and fill inherit, or if you specify different value, then it will overwrite whatever value that is coming from the group. Okay, so in this case, in this example, it will inherit all this black. Okay, so that's the reason you see this black on 3 rectangles. But ellipse, it provides its own value, so that's the reason ellipse has a different color. And the next one is in this case translate and fill. So basically this is the BBB. So those are this light gray here, and then also the 777 is overriding this color BBB, so that's the reason it still actually remains the same color. Okay. Reusing, it allows to define an object and give it an identifier with an ID attribute, and then you can reuse the same object later on multiple times without having to copy all of its code. So suppose if you want to draw this eclipse multiple times with a different, let's say the transformation, for example, what you can do is, instead of writing this eclipse 3 lines of code multiple times, what you can do is you are going to actually have an ID, and then you are going to reuse it by using use element, and then you specify the eclipse, and then you can provide other attribute values including transformation here. So here what we want to do is that we want to draw the same eclipse, but we want to provide different rotations. So end result is the same shape but different the rotational angles. Okay, so that is so I should actually have use E slide 2. Okay. Okay, so that is exercise 3. So let's take a look at the exercise 3. So this is the same example that we have learned from the slide. So this is grouping. Okay, so we group these 4 elements and then we perform translate and rotate. Okay, and this is the grouping with inheritance. Okay, so same example, and this is reusing, same example. Okay, and this is another example of so this is the inheritance, and this one is reusing. Okay, all right, I'm gonna actually so why don't I give you guys 10 minutes to finish the exercise up to this point. Okay. So next topic is gradients. So there are 2 different types of gradients, linear gradient and radial gradient. So this is something that we covered in Canvas as well. So we learned how we can use linear and radial gradients using in fact stops as well. Okay, so here we are using XML tags, XML elements to do the same thing. So here we have path, which is basically this triangle. Okay, so we created a path filled with black. Okay, so starting from here, 100, 200, and then here, and then here, and then we filled with the, then we stroke black and stroke with this too. So that's this line. Now we want to fill with a gradient instead of, you can certainly use a color, right? But you can also use a gradient. So we define the gradient, in this case linear gradient, ID is G. So we are basically using linear gradient object to fill this. Okay. Now stops is basically where you want to change the color. So in this case I'm starting from white. Okay. So in this case it's starting from white here and then going to black. Okay. You can have another one. You can have a 0.5. Then you can have as many stops you want. So in this case we have only 0 and 1, which is actually starting point and ending point. Now you can have another stop offset like a 0.4. Then it will have 0.4 stop color green. Then what it's gonna do is it's starting from white, and then from 0.4 it's gonna gradually go to green. From the green 0.4 to the 1, it will go from green to black. Okay, so we're gonna do some experimentation with the stops. Same thing for radial. So here we have drawn the same thing, the triangle, but we want to perform the radial gradient. So here we are starting from here, okay, and then we are gradually moving to outside the black. Okay, so again, if you have another one in the middle, then it will change from white to maybe black at the green, and then from green it goes to black. Okay, all right. So yeah, since we asked, let's actually try this. So I'm going to go the SVG gradient. Yeah, so this is linear, right? So let's run this guy. So this is what we are going to see. Now what we're going to do is we are going to change we're going to add another one. So here let's add looks like I forgot the subline text adding a line, so I'm going to just copy here, and let's make it 0.4, and let's make it this one blue like this, and save it and see what happens. So you can see it's starting from white and then up to 0.4 it will change to blue, and from the blue it will change it to black. Okay, so you can have another one. So here I'm going to have 0.7, and the stop color I'm going to change it to yellow. Okay, like this. Now if you refresh it, then you can see it goes from white to blue and then yellow and then black. Okay, so that's basically what the stop points is all about. Okay, and radial should work exactly the same. Okay, so here let's run this guy, and this is radial, and again if I want to add yellow in the middle, this time let's make it 0.5, and stop color I'm gonna say yellow. Okay, save the change, and if you refresh, then you can see it starts from white to yellow and black. Okay, alright, so that is gradient. Opacity is basically you can specify opacity with a value again from 0 to 1. So in this case, all this paths will have opacity of 0.5, and you can change. If you say value 0.0, okay, then it's completely transparent. Okay, if you say 1, then it's like not having opacity. Okay, so let's try opacity here. Okay, so this 0.5. So let's try this guy. I'm going to change this one to, in this case, let's change it to 0. Okay, and then what happens? And in this case, it's going to be completely transparent. So one thing is missing. Yeah, so that's the first one. Okay, so if I change everything to 0, and I'm going to just change just 2 more, then refresh, and those things to be gone. If I say 1, in this case, save. Okay, then you can see opacity is 1, is not like an opacity. Okay. Okay, so that's opacity. Okay, so gradient opacity is something I have just shown you, so I'm going to just move forward. Filters. So SVG filters are effects applied to scalable vector graphics files, and basically it consists of a series of graphics operations that are applied to a given source vector graphic that produce a modified result. Okay. All right. So let's see an example of this. So the filter is basically grouped. So inside the filter, you can have a multiple filter primitives. And for your SVG object or group, you can specify filter attribute, and then you can specify the ID of that filter. Okay, and then all these filters, 1 to n, will be applied in sequence. Okay. So these are the set of filters. So in fact, there are a lot of filters you can leverage with. Okay. So let's actually try exercise 5. Let me see what kind of filters we have. Oops, I'm going to go to 5. Okay, so this one is the Gaussian blur. Okay, so if you click this one, things are blurred, right? So we are actually applying Gaussian blur filter, and this one is so if you take a look at the code, we define the filter first. Inside the depths, we define the filter called the blur, and that's basically Gaussian blur. Okay, and then we are applying that filter using filter attribute for a particular image and rectangle in this case. Okay, and shadowing is basically we want to have a shadow on this image as well as on this square. So if I run this guy, this is what you are going to see. And so shadow is we are going to define we have a blur and yeah, I'm not sure this is the right code. Let me see. Okay. Gaussian blur. What we want to is shadow. Oh, okay. So this is the one. Yeah. Okay. So the by using offset, yeah, we are basically providing shadow. Okay. All right. Yes, this offset. Okay, moving forward. Clips and patterns. So clip path is to carve out a shape into another graphic element, and pattern is basically like a gradient. A pattern defines a fill method that may be applied to a given shape. Okay. In case of a pattern, so when you're using pattern, you may specify some graphics that fill a given rectangle within a pattern, then allows a pattern to replicate across the region being filled. So let's see an example. So in exercise 6, what we want to do is, this is a clipping. Okay, so clipping is easy to understand. We just clipped out this circle. Okay, so so basically we have clip path. Okay, and then we are going to use the clip cutoff clip path in this circle. So this circles is going to be the clipped. Okay, now pattern. So when you run this pattern, so I'm going to just run this one, 06 here. So this is what you are going to see. So we define the pattern of this, okay, which has 3 eclipses, and then we are using that pattern to display repeatedly in this the yellow eclipse. Okay, so let's take a look at the code. So we define oval 3 as a group. Okay, so this is basically these 3. Okay, and then we define the pattern. We define the pattern called oval pattern. Okay, and then we are actually using this group of eclipses. Okay, so this one. All right, and then we are going to use the oval 3. So here we are going to actually draw these things with a scale of 6. Okay, so if I change this one to scale of 1, then it's going to have the original size. So original size is this. Okay, but I just want to actually display the values, so I'm just scaling it to 6. Okay. Okay. However, I want to actually use the original pattern, this pattern in Eclipse in repetition. So here I define the yellow. Okay. So basically, if I just remove this guy, only thing you see is basically this yellow, right? And now we want to draw those patterns into this yellow eclipse. Okay. So here now I'm going to use this URL oval pattern. So that pattern is actually what I have defined. Okay. And so I'm actually using the pattern to fill up this yellow eclipse. So that is basically what happens, like this. Okay, so that is a pattern. Okay, so we did clips and patterns, and let's see. So I'm gonna give you just 5 minutes to do exercises up to this point, and let's have 10 minutes break. So let's get back to 3 o'clock in 14 minutes. Okay. Okay, so next topic is placing SVG in a web page, and you have in fact several ways of placing SVG in a web page. You can have SVG tag inlined inside HTML, or you can have SVG file referenced through the image tag or embed tag or object tag. So these are all possibilities. So let's take a look at these 4 different options. So here the first example is we are going to SVG inline directly into HTML page. So let's take a look at the code first. So in this code, we have SVG tag. Okay, so that's basically what we've been using all along. Okay, so that's the simplest. So when I run it, and this is what you're going to see. Second example is, in this case, we are using image tag. So here we are going to, so in this case, assuming you have SVG file. So we have something, a SVG file, and then we can add inside the, we can reference it using image tag. So let's run that guy. So here, so that is, yeah, this one is the one that we are just looking at. We have some file, a SVG file. So this is the SVG file. Okay, so SVG tags separated out into a separate file. So we are going to just reference it using image tag. So if I run this guy, and it works as expected. Okay, and next example is using embed tag. Okay, so here we are using embed tag and instead of image tag. Okay, so that should work the same. And the last one is using object tag. So here we specify object, and the type is SVG and XML, and then in terms of data we specify the name of the file. Okay, so that is also should work. So I'm gonna use embed tag here, and that should work. Okay, and also if I use the object, and it also worked. Okay, so 4 different ways that you can embed SVG. Alright, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so we have learned Canvas, and we have also learned SVG technology, and we also discussed a little bit on jQuery, and you know, also you can certainly use HTML and CSS alone for building a web page. Okay, so among these options, you know, what options you want to use. So let's take a look at some of these issues. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of using Canvas, and same thing for the SVG. Okay, so advantages of using Canvas: it provides high performance 2D surface for drawing anything you want. Okay. One advantage of using Canvas is that it provides a constant performance because everything is a pixel. Okay, so performance only degrades when the image resolution increases. But assuming resolution remains the same, you know, drawing anything is on the screen is pretty much you know, providing pretty much with the same performance. Okay, because they all work with the pixels in a sense. You can save the resulting image into a PNG file or JPG file. Even though in SVG you can use a tool to do the same. Okay. So Canvas is best suited for generating raster graphics. Okay, and examples like games. You know, when the games has some kind of background screen, then drawing those background screen using Canvas is probably a good thing to do. The editing of images or operations requiring pixel level manipulation. So this is where you want to use Canvas. Disadvantages of Canvas include they are not DOM nodes. Okay, so they are all pixels, and they cannot be selectable. So if you draw something using Canvas, a user cannot select anything inside that canvas because they're all pixels. And they cannot be associated with event handler either, because none of those inside the canvas, anything that you draw on the canvas, is not DOM node, so they cannot be associated with event handler. There is no API for animation, so basically you have to use timers and to do a little bit of kludge to do animation. Basically, you have to save and restore, and then you are going to redraw things. So as we have seen before, okay, but animation is possible. Poor text rendering capabilities is another disadvantage of Canvas. Okay. No accessibility support. So if accessibility is important, then you might want to use something else. It might not be suited for website or application user interfaces, because any website and web pages that requires a dynamic behavior, meaning whenever something has to be redrawn each time user interacts, okay, the canvas might not be actually a good choice. Okay. All right. Other reasons might be lack of animation and accessibility support. Now, let's talk about the advantages of SVG. So it's resolution independence, because SVG is XML file, and the XML file will be interpreted or computed at the browser, and the browser knows how to display things in the right resolution. So this makes the SVG better suited for cross-platform user interfaces, because it allows scaling for any screen resolution. So if you have to support multiple devices and each of those devices have a different resolution, you might want to use SVG, because SVG will provide the consistent graphics quality regardless of the resolution. SVG has very good support for animation, so elements can be animated using declarative syntax or via JavaScript. Okay, because this is a DOM node, you can do animation with it. Okay, you have a full control over each element using SVG DOM API in JavaScript. So every SVG element is a DOM element, so they are selectable, and you can also associate the event handler with each of those SVG elements. Okay. And also SVG is XML file format, so accessibility support can be done with ARIA attributes, which we have learned in our first presentation. Disadvantages of SVG: slow rendering when document complexity increases. Okay, so if you have a lot of DOM nodes, that might actually cause the performance overhead, or it might actually require a lot of memory space. So when to use Canvas over SVG? So interactive image editing, like a cropping, resizing, filters. So this is something that we are working with, working at the pixel level. So certainly Canvas might be a better choice. Generating raster graphics, so the visualization, data plots, rendering fractals, and functional plots. These are another good examples, good usage cases for Canvas. Image analysis, again, you're dealing with pixels. Read pixels to get the data for histograms, color usage, anything else you can imagine. Render game graphics such as sprites and background. Okay. When to use SVG over Canvas? So when you need resolution independent web application user interfaces, as we talked about, you might want to consider SVG over Canvas. Highly interactive animation user interfaces, because you can associate event handler for any element, any SVG element, it might actually give a user better, more interactive feeling. Okay. Data charts and plots and vector image editing. So these are other examples where SVG could be used. In practice, however, you could use both. So, typical application requires like a raster graphics-based background, and then, whatever user interaction elements could be actually being built using SVG. So, in practice, you use both, and basically leveraging the strengths of each technology. Now, if you compare HTML5 graphics technology such as SVG and Canvas versus pure HTML and CSS, you can certainly do a lot of things with the CSS3, because CSS3 now supports animations and the transitions and all kinds of the things that you were not able to do before. So HTML and CSS, is another option that you can consider for building the web pages. So HTML CSS has a lot more common, more cross-browser compatibilities, and it has a richer non-presentational semantics. So examples of the things you can do with the CSS3 is rounded corners, transitions, and drop shadows and transparencies. Again, transformations. So you can pick and choose. In fact, the things that you need to do among these technologies. In CSS, you can actually do transformation in declarative fashion. So it might be easier to do transformations. What about the jQuery? jQuery is primarily about the web development, and it doesn't really work with the Canvas element or 2D drawing APIs at all. So, SVG and Canvas, and for that matter, CSS3, those are mainly for the drawing graphics, okay, or some transformation of those transformation or animation of those graphics. jQuery is mainly is used for writing business logic, with those DOM elements, with some DOM elements. Okay, so typically you are going to use the combination of graphics technologies such as SVG and Canvas and CSS3 along with jQuery. Okay. Alright, so let me actually explain exercise 8. So here in this exercise we are going to play around with Canvas and SVG. So in this case, selectability. So let me show you what I mean by selectability. So I'm going to actually open this guy, okay, and open the browser. So in this case, this is actually drawn with a canvas, okay, and these are all pixels, and this is drawn with SVG, okay. Now I cannot select any of this, okay, because these are all drawn using JavaScript, and those are not really DOM elements. However, for SVG element, these are drawn as a text element. This is a text element. This is the the rect element, right? So I can actually select any of this. Okay. In fact, if you inspect these elements, you should be able to actually select these guys. Okay. Now in this case, if you select, this is a canvas. The whole thing is a canvas. So you can actually also, so you can select the canvas as the one large chunk, but you cannot select a text. You cannot select this rectangle inside this canvas. Here I can select. Okay, so for SVG, I can select each of this. It's a selectable DOM element. It's a genuine DOM element. Okay. Now the second thing is event handler. So again, the only thing that you can associate event handler is the canvas itself. Okay, so I cannot associate it. I cannot associate an event handler with this text or no of this text or this rectangle. But here I can associate event handler to the text element or this one or a rectangle. So here I actually associated event handler for this rectangle. So if I click rectangle, I got event handler, which just displayed this alert message. Okay. The last one is pixelation. So as I said before, in Canvas, if you increase the resolution, the graphics quality is going to be deteriorate. While SVG, the graphics quality remains the same regardless of the resolution. So let me actually change the resolution here in this browser by pressing Control plus, so I'm actually increasing the resolution. As you can see, I zoom 250%. Okay, so here you can see the quality of Canvas graphics deteriorate, while you can see SVG graphics quality remain the same. Okay. All right. So I'll let you guys do this exercise up to this point. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go to tools. Okay. Okay, so last topic is tools and image libraries regarding SVG. So SVG tools. So we're going to work with two open source SVG tools. One is SVG Edit, which is browser-based SVG editor, and Inkscape is open source vector graphics editor. So it's a standalone application, and there are other commercial the SVG tools, and Adobe Illustrator is another example. In terms of libraries you can take advantage of, so we have looked into libraries that you can use on Canvas. On SVG there are also libraries that you can use so that is one of the libraries, image libraries we are going to look into is image and video libraries. It's royalty free for any use with distribution except redistribution or sales. Okay, so let's take a look at the lab documentation. So the first thing you want to do is to play around with the SVG edit. So from the web documentation, if you click this link, you go to SVG edit website. Okay, and you might want to actually take a look at the screencast on how to use it. Okay, so here we're going to just move on to the actual SVG editor. So if you click SVG edit 2.6 demo, I mean this is in fact the actual package. So click this one and you are going to see this UI. Okay, so I have already create one like this. So basically what you can do is you can click this one and then click again, and then you can write things. So don't try to drag it. I think drag doesn't work. So I couldn't actually make a drag work. So you have to actually click it and then click it again. So click and click it again. So I'm gonna just type it again, jpassion.com. Okay, and you can certainly change the the cursive, and you can also change the color. I'll change it to red again. Okay, alright, so that is something you can do. Okay, and then what you can do is then you can also add some images. So click there are a bunch of things you can do. So here these are shape libraries. So I'm gonna click this one and you can select the categories. Okay, so here I'm going to select this time electronics, and yes, electronics is not that much fun, so I'm gonna still use animals, and I'm gonna this time, what about the rabbit? Okay, and so rabbit, I can just again click and click here, and then you can actually expand this guy to resize what you have just drawn. Okay, so here basically you can draw things, and it's actually creating SVG file underneath. So here what you can do is SVG edit, and then when you change the save image, okay, this is SVG file that just created. Okay, so you can just copy this file, okay, copy this one and save into a file. Okay, so the assuming that is done, I'm going to say done, and I'm going to just go to lab documentation. So basically what we have done is we just run this guy and we just draw things, and we also basically you can of course change the values over here and also in here as well. Okay, because whatever you see on the screen has a corresponding SVG file. Okay, so you can change either, and they are bidirectionally changeable. So the once you change this one and then apply changes, then that should be reflected in the graphics as well, right? And then we just change these animals, add these animals, and you save it, and then you're going to see this as SVG file that gets created, and you're going to just copy this guy, and then you're going to save the file. So I have already saved the file, so that is basically SVG edit generated SVG file. So this is something that I copied from the SVG editor and save into a file. Okay, now I'm going to create the web page that contains SVG file like this. So here you are going to specify this time you're gonna, you can include SVG in many different ways. Like you can use embed, you can use image, and all that stuff. But here I'm using object. Here I specify the name of the SVG file, right? Okay, and then when you run it, then you're gonna actually see this. So that is already provided here. So this is the one. It actually reference. Oh, actually this one doesn't need to be here. Okay, so this one is good enough, and so when I open the browser, it will display that SVG file. Okay. Okay, so that is that. Now import image from EN libraries. So you can go to here, okay, and you are going to register. Okay, so it's going to send an email to you, and then you respond and all that stuff. So you do the registration, okay, and then in your the SVG editor, you can click image library. Okay, so let's actually go to image library again. So I'm gonna just go to this image library. Oh, maybe okay, I go to I'm gonna just use the link here. Okay, so I'm gonna just click this link here again. Okay, so here you're going to select image library, okay, and one of the image library is actually EN symbol library. So you click this one, then it's going to ask you to enter username and password. So assuming you have done the registration, you can actually log in. So you can log in, okay, then you have a bunch of image libraries you can actually use. Okay, so here I'm gonna use maybe fish, okay, and then it will give me all kinds of fishes. So I'm gonna choose this fish. So I'm gonna choose this. So you can see the fish is now added in SVG, like SVG. Okay, so again, SVG file should actually reflect this. Okay, so again, if I save this one, I'm gonna actually see SVG fish has been added somewhere. Okay, all right. So that is basically the library. Okay, so that is done that, and the exercise. Oh, so now the next exercise is Inkscape. Okay, so that is exercise 10. Okay. So you want to download Inkscape from Inkscape download site, and then you're going to just install it, and it's a standalone application. Okay, so you can just open it. So I already downloaded and installed it on my system. So Inkscape, here you go. And then you can open any SVG file of your choice. So I'm going to actually open this SVG edit generated SVG file, okay, which is open, and I'm going to go to SVG samples HTML5, and so SVG edit generated. This is the one that I created. So I open it, and again you can actually see this is being displayed in Inkscape. And again, you can use all kinds of options to draw things. Okay, so that's basically, so I can just draw this 3D like this. Okay, and again, you can save it into my own SVG file, and that SVG file could be actually used in another application and things like that. Okay, all right, guys, I'm gonna give you about the 10 minutes to do this exercise. Okay.